All right. Good morning. As you can see on the screen, these are the notes from the November 12th open call. But there was a lot in that call. So we had a request to just go over it again. And I am always so thankful for the group looking at the things we discussed because I did learn a little bit more about some of the extra linking, what was it, the link resolver plugin that EBSCO has that is included in this document. And short version is I don't think anybody needs to use it. It was phased out when EBSCO updated their interfaces, like 2021. So hopefully everyone's collections have, you know, been corrected since then. And I don't think EBSCO is still using it. It's a legacy thing. So we were just going to go through these different areas again, so that if you are new to electronic resources, unfamiliar with it, covering for someone, or just, need that refresher and want to walk through it all together, that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to put our directions on this side, and I'm going to try and keep the chat visible and not block too much of what I'm doing. Okay, so I am going to use Big Bend as I usually do, just because I have their info. And with the sandbox, it's a little weird because not everything I'd have to make up values. So okay, so these steps can be taken if you're experiencing issues with connecting to resources correctly. So if someone is in Primo and clicking on the link and it's not going to the correct level. So like say they click on an article and it goes to the journal, or they click onto the journal and it just goes to the platform. Those might be issues where troubleshooting would lead you to this level of linking correction. But you might also just want to go through and check on things, because as we know, users don't always report things like that because maybe they don't even understand what happened, or know how to report it. So the issues that you'll get kind of fall into these four areas, for the most part. You have proxy. One of the things that I recommend, that should apply to just about everybody, is to make sure that when you configure your proxy, so we're going to go in here, I'll show you where it is. So we've got it in configuration, general, and then integration profiles. And then most people will only have one resolver proxy integration type. Seattle is our exception. Make sure that you have it clicked on default, because that will make it very easy to select when configuring electronic resources. Double check your settings here as far as your URL and the IP. And then you always want to set the use proxy to selective, because not everything gets proxied. So check that. The big thing is the default, and that is because, so we're going to come back here and I'm just going to go into any old collection. And this is my recommendation. So we have our regional business news, and we're going to go into edit collection. And here under the different tabs you get, under the general, you can get acquisitions information if that's something that you're using. You generally don't need to change any of these things. Under additional, you do sometimes, and we'll get to it later, have to change a level URL, and that can be there. Oh, excuse me, I gotta sneeze. But the thing that I want to point out, I recommend when you set your proxy selected, you'll get this drop down and you have the option to choose default or to choose the named integration profile. If you only have one, I highly recommend just leaving it on default, because then if you do an update to that proxy, say you change from self-hosted to hosted, or you go from OCLC to Open Athens, when you set up your new proxy integration and you're able to change your default integration profile to the new one, all of these configured electronic collections will change with that, as opposed to having to go in and check and make sure that you've chosen the correct integration profile code. So leave it on default, just my 2 cents. So then we also have under the collection editor level CDI settings. And some of the things in here are, I would say, more personal preference, well, not personal preference, but institution preference. So whether or not you have the resources active for CDI search. So if you're not finding things in your all-in-one everything combined CDI and catalog search that you think you should be finding, you probably want to make sure that your CDI search activation status is set to active. If it's not active and it's not got full text, it will not show up in CDI. But if it's active and it's partially full text and partially not, all of those bib records will show up. And so you'll get journals that, like maybe have some open access, but some not. So Isaac has a comment in chat. So originally with the new CDI, it was recommended that ebook packages set to not active for CDI search activation because there was a lot of duplication. They attempted to resolve it with a new setting within the search scopes, which I can show you. I'm not sure how good it is. We'd have to do some experimenting. But if we pop over to discovery and search profiles, one of the things that they added was, if you look at the search everything or the central index, and you go in here and you'd go to edit, but you can exclude CDI ebooks. And so that was their attempt at kind of fixing that electronic collection active for CDI, but ebooks getting wildly duplicated because there were book chapters and full books and partial records and yada, yada, yada. So if you set both your central index and the combined institution and central index to exclude CDI ebooks, you should, according to the fix, be able to go ahead and make active the search in CDI for ebook collections. But if you've got some time, I would appreciate if someone wanted to test it out and see if it worked. So yeah, so that's that. So let's go on back to what we were looking at, since we're really talking about linking. But linking comes down to finding, and finding comes down to accurately connecting. So I say it's relevant.
Carly, you were saying, I'm just looking at one of my EBSCO databases and I have CDI search activation status not active. You're saying we should make it active?
Yes, that's my recommendation. Oh, come on. If you change the search profiles to exclude CDI ebook results and your book collections are not active, nothing will really change. But if you want to add more results, then you could set your ebook collections to active.
Explain really quick. I just haven't done this in so long. How do we choose whether to make an update to the collection or the service? I thought the proxy really only needed to be activated in the service.
So, here's the list of the table over here of the proxy relationships. And if you have it enabled at the collection level and the service level, it's not a big deal. If you have it directed at the collection level, I mean, I always just set it at all of them. Maybe because I'm like, I don't know where I was at when I made sure I had this. I was just going through the various levels and showing where each of them were, but it would be the same setting as far as choosing default, whether you're in collection level or service level. But if you have it set at collection level, service level and portfolio level will inherit that. I'm sure this is like super small. Nope, still super small.
Is there a link for that page?
I think I remembered to put it in there.
No, I mean for the one that you're showing.
Oh yeah, no, I was looking in my documentation, but I don't think I did. Okay, let's see. It is CDI. No, it's proxy settings. I think it should be. Nope. Oh, of course. Okay.
I meant the link for the Google Doc.
Oh, Google Doc. Yes, I can do. I was trying to find the link for this table, but yeah, the Google Doc. I will re-share it. It was in the chat. Okay. And I will put the link in for this table when it wouldn't just be killing time. But yeah, so if you do not put in the proxy at the collection level and put it in at the service level, it will redirect in the same way. And the portfolio inherits that service setting. So it doesn't really matter. I tend to just do both in case something gets tweaked weirdly or clicked wrong. So that is the collection. These are the tabs at the collection level that will then be inherited at service and portfolio. Collection level is where you have to set the CDI settings. if you don't have the ability to edit this, it could be that your permissions don't include the CDI editing permissions because those were added after CDI went active. And you may just have to go in or ask someone to add the edit CDI permission, whatever it's called. The other setting here that I do want to specifically talk about is we subscribe to only some titles in this collection. While it might make sense to click on no if it's an aggregator collection, it actually is smarter to click yes, because if you click no and the collection is active for CDI search and includes like journals where you have a what am I thinking? Embargo, then all the collections will be flagged as full text available, even if certain things haven't totally come through yet, because it's kind of just like inherits this full text thing. Whereas if you say we subscribe to only some titles, then Alma looks more closely at the portfolio level availability and more accurately tags the full text. The explanation of no and yes doesn't really cover that or explain it. It just talks about like, oh yeah, full text portfolios, but best practices with CDI have borne out across users that marking yes on we subscribe to only is a good way to keep things nice and accurate.
It's always weird to me that they phrase it that way. It's almost like a double negative. Why isn't it we subscribe to all titles in this collection?
I know. And they do that in so many places with configurations. And you're like, wait, what am I saying yes, no to? Yeah, it's great. Sometimes I think that's some of the translation-ness of certain settings. I don't know. But you'd think a little bit of UI would go a long way. Okay, so same collection. We're gonna go to the three dots. And this is where we can edit service. So for those of you who are like, wait, collection service. So service is here, and we're going to go down and we're going to edit service, and you'll see really similar tabs. So it can be a little bit confusing when you're like, wait, what? So if something's not showing up at all and you subscribe to it and you want to be able to search it, you're going to need the service as available. If it is an aggregator collection and you subscribe to everything, this is one where you do want to say yes, because new portfolios mean the new titles that aggregator acquires. If you say no, then you will have to go in and manually look at the new titles that may have been added. This even also includes titles that are removed. So basically, if you click no for an aggregator collection, you're not going to get the portfolio level updates from the community zone. So it's not just activating new, it's also deleting the old. So you want to click yes here. You don't want to click yes if you're looking at a selective collection like ebook collection where maybe you're only manually activating portfolios when you purchase them. Something that I have learned, if you enter either information in either of these fields, the active from or the active until, it can mess with your service activation status, even the from date. So it's best if you subscribe to that and it's not like a trial situation to leave those empty. And come on. Oh, good gracious, now it's freezing. Cool. Um, if you do have an issue with connectivity or, content is down, this is where you could put in the service unavailable display message. However, it might just be easier to turn it off if it's really that down. Linking is the one where you will find your parser parameters and the proxy at the service level. So we have enabled and default. We've had to do a little bit of parser tweaking in extraordinary circumstances, but by and large, these parser parameters get updated on a regular basis from the community zone. So you don't want to necessarily mess with them. You do not need to really override most of these defaults. They come in pretty well. The bottom section is where it's most important to go in, and unfortunately you cannot go in and do this in a bulk job. But this is where having customer specific parameters can improve your linking. Linking functions without it, obviously, but EBSCO particularly has a lot of documentation about how adding those parameters is more reliable and helps match your users to the content that you have access to. So we are looking at an EBSCO business collection. And so for Big Bend, we would want IP auth as yes, because they do use IP authentication. They do not use the EBSCO SSO, and I don't actually have the OPID. So we're just going to put in the customer ID, and theirs is Big Bend, and hit save. Your customer ID from EBSCO is usually, if you follow one of your links, like your in like your database list, your A to Z, it'll be embedded in there. You can reach out to EBSCO support to get it. I have all of your customer IDs. The OPID is one that is specific to the EBSCO platform that content is on. So the ebook platform versus like Flipster platform versus the regular journals one, you'll have a different op ID for each of those. And by adding that, you'll get article level links in the new EBSCO open URL pattern. So you have to email support to get that op ID. And if you get it and you want to share it with me so that it's saved somewhere, I'm happy to add it to my spreadsheet. So in service, we went to linking, scrolled all the way down. Those parameters come from the parser parameters up top. Big Bend uses IP and proxy, and the proxy is based on customer ID. So we've got that in there. They can request their op ID, and it would go in there. And now it's just one more little puzzle piece to nice, consistent linking. The portfolios tab, you shouldn't generally have to mess with in a non-selective, but you should see the inherited availability as blue if you have portfolios in aggregator collections. If you're not seeing that blue, then you probably want to make sure that you get those available, because if a portfolio is not available, but the service is, you may get records, but not like article level. It's a whole fantastic workflow back and forth between these 3 layers and the platform you're trying to connect with. So that is an example of the EBSCO one. Let's take a look at the ebook central from ProQuest. And so we've got this one, which is a selective package. So this is great to kind of just look at the differences. So I'm going to go into edit collection. And under additional, we've got everything good. Yay, yay, yay. And then on CDI, we're going to say not active. And we only subscribe to some of the titles. So that's all good. Now we'll go back. We didn't change anything. This one's not even active. So, and we'd go into edit service. So this one's not available. And we'd say no new portfolios because it's selective. And if we go to linking, if it was something that we were connecting to, the only parameter that eBook Central uses is the eBook Central customer ID, which is different from your general ProQuest customer ID, as far as I can remember. So I don't actually think that 2196 is correct, but this one isn't active, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'll double check it later. So eBook Central, you'll want to look for your institution code found in the eBook Central admin portal, dashboard, whatever it is they call that one. So that's an example of an eBook Central one. The Gale ones are a little more extensive because you'll want to, and we're going to ignore Power Search database right now, and we're going to go with health and wellness. And the linking parameters are at the service level. So we go 3 dots, edit service, available. Yes, great. That's looking good. We go down here and we're going to enter our location ID as well as parameter for art, which is yes, and that is for article level. To find your Gale database's location ID, you can log into a Gale database. You can also check the state site. The Washington State Library Gale site has everybody's location IDs listed after their institutions. So if you don't have any Gale through Washington State Library, you won't be on here, but many of us do. So this is a really easy way to get your ID from that. So you put your location ID in and then art. There was one that I found because these parameters actually come directly from the parser parameters up here. And I found one where the T had been left off, and I keep meaning to see if it actually matters. So Isaac, this was a few minutes ago, but he did note in the chat that a nice way to track subscription dates is within the PO line. And it doesn't really change anything else, but it kind of helps you track renewals. So that's, a good tip. You don't have to fully use acquisitions to still use some of it to kind of help you manage things. Okay, so that was Gale. ProQuest, these are not necessary when there's not a network zone, because network zone and ProQuest and linking can get a little fuzzy, but it certainly doesn't hurt if you have a chance to add it. So if we go to a general ProQuest collection. And say we go to research library and edit service, linking, come down here, client ID. Sometimes it is called account ID, but it's that same thing. It's your 4-digit. The last vendor group of collections that benefits from filling in parameters for the parser is ABC Clio, and it's a username and password. I don't know where that's found. And Big Ben doesn't have ABC Clio, so I haven't looked at it, but it's basically, I mean, the same process. So this can be quite tedious because you can't do it in bulk, and there are kind of just fiddly little differences depending on whether you are looking at a ProQuest or a Gale or an EBSCO or a different platform from one of the content providers. So now there's these database configurations. And so over here we see types. We colloquial call these all databases, but we have different types of electronic collections. We have aggregators have portfolios, selective have portfolios. But if we go down, I thought I saw, did I see it all the way at the top? Nope. Okay. Power search is one. So if you are looking at there we go, an electronic collection, and the type is database. For Gale, if you have any of these active, you're not going to see any portfolios here because what it is a different linking method. It doesn't include the bib records. But what we can do to improve linking there is to go into where I've got it, where configuration menu, discovery, other, and custom linking. So I've already set it up, so I'll show you configuration, discovery, other, and then custom linking for central index databases. And you'll see all kinds of them. And if you don't have collections that are active for these, most of them won't, need to be looked at. But if we look at the Gale one, we can see here the SID is Primo service ID, and the location ID is Big Bend CC. Now, as you can see, the free text description of this is the Gale for PCI collection, and we're no longer working with PCI. That was the old central index. However, I can't find any documentation that explicitly says that Gale won't work better in CDI with this. So, it's one spot. Better that than, a screwy link. Infobase Films on Demand is the other place in this custom linking where you can replace part of the code with your library code. And so if we look here, we've got, they don't have Films on Demand, so it's not done, but there's this customer ID, that you would replace so there's that one. There's two info bases. Here's the other one up here. I don't know why they're not next to each other. But WID and customer ID can be replaced with your own, or maybe it's not even this one at all. No, I feel like it is. Oh well. Films on demand. 4X's. If you have films on demand, you can put your films on demand ID in there.
The other info base one that a lot of us had was Credo. Would we need this for Credo?
I don't think so. I think this was primarily for the like reference primary source historic ones when I was reading through, because Credo doesn't use this base URL as far as I know.
In that bottom one, where would you put your customer ID? I mean, I know I see it there in the curly brackets, but you leave the curly brackets in?
Yeah, leave the curly brackets. Hold on. Take the curly brackets out and add customer ID there. Otherwise, this would put it in for any info base primary resource. Otherwise, we'd have to go in and see where customer ID is in those linking parameters. And Big Ben doesn't have. We can go to the community zone, but I don't know if I can see the service editing page if it's not activated. So it'd be for a database. So like, I don't even know which ones it would, because this is only, again, for collection types of database, not aggregator. So the only ones that come up in the community zone, ancient and medieval history online, and then films on demand, but films on demand has its own. So I don't think that other one even matters. So it's probably just legacy. But so the shared document, we kind of already went over the CDI tab, but I've put some kind of notes from the documentation of why you'd want to select yes or no on subscribe to only some of the titles. This EBSCO link resolver, I am going to take out because I have discovered that it is a legacy thing and it's not necessary anymore with CDI. And okay, so then the augmentation profiles, these are ones where it's been, again, the documentation is there on how to set them up, but some people have said, yeah, you don't need to do these anymore, but I'll show you where they are. And again, I don't think it hurts anything. This is one of those ones that you can do quickly in one place. So we'd go to configuration, general, integration profile, and then you would either add if you don't have it already, or if you have it, you can go in and edit it. If you choose to add it, choose integration type augmentation, and it won't let me do a second one because there's only one. So here we have Crossref. We're enabling it to use DOI to make get extra metadata, the archive OAI to get more data. So this really helps getting accurate linking, especially with the DOI stuff. It can help with the libkey links. The PubMed one, I have this inactive because I don't have the API key. And did somebody contact me about the necessity of setting up the PubMed one? Has anyone tried it, or does anyone have it done? Well, if anyone does, I would be curious to hear what PubMed says when you ask for an API key, to see if this is something that they are still needing, or if it's another one of those legacy things. But since this Crossref, so we've got the query Crossref for article level metadata. If you go back, you can look at pretty much any electronic collection, and I think it's under service and the linking down here, it says whether or not it's Crossref supported, and things that are Crossref supported, by setting up this integration profile and making it active, anything that's Crossref supported will get more better and updated metadata based on that API. So that's where that comes into play. So that's the augmentation profile. So we've covered quite a few kind of different areas where linking can get better, data can get better if you add information. Okay, Adrene says they have PubMed active. I'm gonna pop in and just take a look so that we can show people what that, nope, stop, don't log in again. Dope. No. So augmentation profile is configuration, general, integration profiles, and here we are under actions and active, 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 and here is what that API key looks like. So, and Isaac says Shoreline has it. Isn't that always nice? You're like, oh cool, my ID is attached to this and I have no recollection. So, it's possible. I can't say if it's like significantly helping Grays Harbor and Shoreline connect to PubMed content. That's a scientific experiment that I have not completed, but it's worth knowing that a few schools have done that. Yeah, I'm guessing that you would have set it up during setting up PubMed link out, because dealing with them and just getting all the information that you need at the same time. So yeah, so if you have collections or content that are not linking at the proper level, it's always a good idea to check in the electronic service and make sure that local parameters are filled in, check CDI configuration. The last thing that I wanted to do today is to show where these settings are when you're activating a new collection. Because I think there's probably some folks who have things they're subscribing to that they have not activated. So I'm going to go into Sandbox for this one, and I will go ahead and just make up values so that you can see when you're activating where these different elements and when they get set. So if it will let me log in. Okay, here we go. So, and I'm going to do this with the most common of common, which is an aggregator type collection with portfolios that you would want to activate all of the portfolios. So no selective, no database, no manual, just, oh, we forgot to activate whatever. Okay, aggregator. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's pick something that people would maybe even have. Isaac says that there is an additional integration profile for Ovid that works well. And having worked with Ovid, I can attest to the fact that they're the more you get their content integrated and don't rely on community zone stuff, the better. Okay, I'll go to EBSCO. I'm probably being far too picky about a fake activation in a sandbox environment, but it's always good to see how the filters are working. Okay, so we've got, let's say, Cinol Ultimate. There we go. So we're in the community zone. So we can see it's not active. We're going to say activate. And we're going to keep the public name as Cinol Ultimate. I do not want to suppress the bib. So this right here, electronic collection proxy enabled, is the collection level proxy. You can leave this on no if you're going to turn on the proxy at the service level. I just always do all of them. This one, for some reason, is defaulting to we only subscribe to only some. It could be my permissions. I maybe don't have it in this sandbox. I don't want to not show as full text. I want to show full text. I want to activate. I want to make available, and I want automatically activate new portfolios. Yes, if you are going to use resource recommender or put the collection like as a record into Primo, you're gonna want the collection proxy. That's at the collection level, because then it becomes its own bib record that can be proxied. Okay, so we have active, 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 proxy enabled, bib is not suppressed. Next. And now here is where the service level parameters come in. So our IP auth would be yes. Let's say we have the OPID and our customer ID. Because, oh, this is EBSCO, so it's actually going to be something long. That might be Whitworth's that I just pulled out of my head. Okay. And then proxy enabled, yes. Proxy select default, next. And then activation type is activate all of the portfolios. next. This is where it confirms, and then activate. Now, of course, I chose one with 1 million portfolios, so it's probably gonna take a while. Yeah, using the electronic collection and resource recommender through Primo is probably the only instance where it matters that it is proxied at the collection level. But if you decide to start using it, it's easier to just activate everything with collection level proxy and then not have to go back in and fix it. Okay, so now we see the blue house that it is active in our institution zone. If we change this to CINAHL, oh, I love the sandbox. And we go to institution zone. We should just get, okay, so now we have, so here's an example. So here's the one we just did, and here's an example of one where not all of the portfolios have been activated, and an override has been used. But if we go into edit collection, we see an additional that we've got the proxy enabled. We see in CDI, yeah, I must not have permissions. This is what it looks like if you do not have CDI permissions. Okay, great. And now we go to service, available, activate, yes, linking, parser parameters are in here, inherit, proxy enabled. All of our parameters have come in. Great. I am going to give myself the permissions that I need, and I'll show you. So if I add a role, and it is down here under inventory, and you will need the CDI inventory operator role in order to change the CDI activation status, in addition to electronic inventory operator, because CDI was newer. So we're gonna make it active. Yep, it's for the whole thing. Make sure it actually, there it is. Great. Now if I sign out and sign back in, bye Adrene. And now we go to CINAHL. And institution. And let's see if we can edit it now. Okay, linking. And look at that. Nope. CDI is at collection level, not service level. CDI tab. Ta-da! Now I can change it. Okay. There we go. This linking parameters for e-resources is available. I'll link to it one more time in the chat in case you didn't get it. And I hope it's helpful. If you find that your own electronic collections are woefully kind of messy and you'd like some help cleaning it up, I'm happy to kind of jump in, split a spreadsheet with you. So I will be in the new year working on the organization of this members resources folder because it's nuts and it's not really useful in its current state. So yeah, working on that, and when it looks halfway decent, I will definitely push out a bunch of share links to everybody. If you need one, I have no problem sharing it now. Just know that it's a mess. Yeah, TLC to say the least. Um, like this is the one that I've already fixed. Like that's like, oh look, that makes sense. Although this one has stuff in it that I might need elsewhere. So anyway, so I'm working on that. I am working on a new to click website where a lot of these documents I'm hoping to also just like put onto LibGuides and have grouped under subjects so that it's searchable, because that's way more searchable. So yeah, we do have one more open call before the holiday break next Thursday. If you can make it, great. I will probably have something useful. I don't know yet. But and then I will be getting out next quarter's the winter quarter schedule soon. So take care, everyone. Stay warm. Um, Good luck to all of your students on finals and surviving the ref desk. And I will see you all soon, I hope. So thanks for joining us. And I will stop recording.